All right. Well, it's day 40. And yes, I am currently laying in my bed. And I was going to do where we left off with Ephesians 3. And I was just praying and meditating on it. And God's like, oh, Lord, why don't you do a little wrap up? What you learned over the last 40 days. And I am definitely not going to make it through this without crying. So if that's not fun for you, hang up now, because let me just tell you. And there's a reason that I'm laying here, and there's a reason that I took off all my makeup, and because I was actually out today, and because for those of you who've been watching, I have been in bed and not well, and so anyway, I did get up and I put on my makeup and I did all the things. And so I was going to do this as soon as I got home so that I would be all made up for, not for once, but anyway, here's the point. It's so interesting to me because my journey of really the depths of what God has taught me really started 12 years ago, when, as a pastor's wife, and so as a pastor's wife, when you are when you're a pastor's wife or a pastor, you hang out with pastors and pastors' wives. And I had such a radical transformation in my life that when I would spend time with pastors and pastors' wives, there was something different. And this is not anything John and I have never talked about, so I'm not divulging anything on for the whole world to know that John and I haven't discussed openly. But I didn't understand how John could preach the way that he preached, stand behind the pulpit, radically transform people's lives, do what he did, and then come home and be a completely different person. I didn't understand how a pastor could run a mega church and have been having an affair for 5 years. I don't understand how somebody could preach the gospel and then go home and beat their wife. And it wasn't just that they said words. These people that I knew, when they were behind the pulpit, I could feel the presence of God. So it wasn't like it was just words. They were changing people's lives in amazing ways. And I didn't understand how that could be so different, because for me, again, my transformation was so radical that like there was just me, and there was me in confusion, and there was me in frustration, and there was me in some of the things, but I wasn't hiding me, and I didn't feel like I was two different people like I saw. And I just started asking God, like, how does this work? How can this happen? And that's when God really started showing me the difference between our cognitive mind and our subconscious mind, and what energy is and how energy works inside of us, and how our body holds memories, and versus like the sins of the father passed down 7 generations, and how that actually works. And And I thought I had a really good understanding, and I started sharing it with people, um and and that was cool. And for those of you who don't know my story, and you know, on the outside I was sharing, and it made sense to have these, two different aspects of us, and how people could do one thing and do the other. And it's the verse where, Paul says, the thing I want to do I don't do, and the thing I don't want to do I do. And that started making sense to me, but in behaviors, right? But then there was this thing for me, that, when I got alone for too long, I felt this emptiness, right? And then one day, through just prayer and meditation, if you don't know, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, with a list of some other diagnosis. um uh Whole story for a different day. But anyway, I was sharing all these things I was learning, and I had this radical transformation with the Lord, and I still had this underlying depression that was pretty profound. Like, it took up a lot of me. And again, through just some meditation and some prayer, the Lord, I woke up one morning and it was gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, explain what happened to me, right? Because again, it was this um, deeper unfolding of this thing he was showing me with our mind, and how our cognitive and our subconscious, and then into our super conscious, and how all that worked. And I understood it clearer and clearer. And I felt like I got freer and freer. And I really thought I knew God. I mean, my life was transforming, and I was helping other people transform. And situations with John and I were changing radically, and um, we were doing so much better. And the day that we separated, and it was actually over, was the start of my 40 days, right? We've talked about that. That was the whole point of, God had really been encouraging me to do a Bible study, and not a Bible study, just to study the Bible openly online. More for, my own accountability, I'm sure. I mean, as far as the online piece of it goes. But when John left our marriage, I was dumbfounded again, and all the things that I thought I understood, I didn't understand. All the things that I thought were love, I didn't understand. And I honestly, you guys, there was so much more. Like, John left, and the situation with my housing got turned upside down. And though I had a home, it was being rented, and so technically I was homeless. And I wrecked my one car, got totaled. The next car was broken, so broken that like I didn't have use of it for several months. And I was relying on other people to drive me places. And because of John and my split, our finances were kind of in an upheaval kind of place. My business has never grown the way that I think it could. And I took a lot of responsibility for that, just because of like marketing stuff and just like all these different things. And there were things going on with family members, and it just seemed like everything was blowing up. And here I am understanding how God's love works, and yet everything in my physical was completely blowing up. And I went and spent a lot of time in Job, and just over these last 40 days, really, like, I mean, some of the whole digging into Job started before the 40 days because John and I split. And then really with revelation of him being in a new relationship is really what started the 40 days. And anyway, I guess the bottom line is I really genuinely thought that I understood God and I understood his love and I understood how it worked. And then to find myself in a situation that I didn't think I'd ever find myself in because, God loved me and I was being obedient. I was changing people's lives with, through his principles. And so I should be blessed for that, right? And but over these 40 days, the gift that God's given me of a love that I didn't even realize that I didn't understand, and the depths to which he has revealed to me that he doesn't love me because of anything I do. And guys, here's the crazy thing about why those pastors could do what they were doing, right? How they could speak the way they were speaking and then, abuse drugs, be thieves, be having affairs, beating their wives, doing all of these things. And yet, you guys, I was not doing those physical things, which allowed me to elevate myself. And guys, it's the story of the prodigal son, only I was the religious brother. I was the one saying, but God, I'm doing it all right. I'm doing what you're telling me to do, and I'm obeying. And I don't feel like I'm getting the reward for that. And to have God love me in the depths of my indignation, in the depths of my self-pride, that I thought that he would love me because I was being obedient. You guys, my cognitive mind didn't think that was what was going on. But my subconscious mind sure did, because that's how it was playing out, right? Because I was prideful and I was arrogant and I thought I was better than other people because I didn't do those outward behaviors. And the more I continued to just talk about how we were already justified, and you guys go back and listen to day one, I was like, guys, we're already justified. We are already justified. And I could say it with my mouth. But I didn't even realize. I did not even realize that I didn't really believe it. And over the last 40 days, there's been physical things that have happened. I got sick several times. I've had a bad knee, and all of it was because God was like, Lori, you just talk to you. And I finally listened, kind of like the whole, Bible study thing. And guys, for the first time in my life, because I don't get sick, I'm not typically available to be sick. And but I knew that it was the Lord communicating to me, because he had been saying, Lori, I really need to talk to you and you need to rest. And I really need to talk to you and you need to rest. And I kept saying, yeah, as soon as I'm done with this, I'll rest. Okay. As soon as I'm done with this, but I would continue to make appointments. I would continue to add things to my calendar. And, but when you're sick, one, nobody wants to be around you. Two, I don't want to get anyone else sick. Three, I couldn't even sit up. My head was throbbing, right? And so all of these things, but guys, it was such a beautiful thing, because for the first time in my life, because the old me would have with my mouth said, oh yeah, the Lord's just trying to direct me. But my heart would have said, yeah, this is what I deserve because I'm not being obedient. And for the first time in my life, I just continue to look at this as such a beautiful gift because God was saying, Lori, that thing that you want, you're trying to hold it all up on your own. And you don't have to. And I truly, for the first time in my life, looked at all of the things that were happening and recognized that when I know I'm already justified, everything that is in my life is a gift. And it's interesting because I didn't realize how much I still believed if I did something good and right, I would get a blessing. But if I did something naughty, I would get a punishment. And that's not God. That's my belief in my circumstances. And I can't remember, there was something specific that happened. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this means, right? I'm looking for meaning because I'm looking to see, did I do something wrong? Or what is this trying to teach me or tell me? Or what's the lesson? And God said, what if it doesn't mean anything except for, I wish I could remember what it was. Let's pretend, because I don't remember what it is. Let's pretend like I got a headache, right? I'd be like, oh, what does this mean? Or where am I not being obedient? Or why am I suffering, right? And God's like, Lori, what if it just means you have a headache? What if that's genuinely all it means? And over the last 40 days, I have embraced the beauty of the world around me in a way that I didn't even realize I didn't. I understand the love of God. It's kind of like it's Job, right? He continued to say, yeah, I love God. Yeah, I love God. All these afflictions, all these, yeah, I love God. Yeah, I love God, until the very last moment, right? And he says, when Job finally says, I really should just die. I mean, this is ridiculous. And God's like, really? Were you there? Were you there at the foundations of the earth? Were you there when I breathed into, breathe life into the world? Do you have any idea? Because if you did, you couldn't say that. You couldn't say that it wasn't worth living. And guys, the words that I'm saying are no different than the words that I said at the beginning of the 40 days. But my heart is completely wrecked. I'm so different. And at a whole different level, I genuinely believe that I'm already loved, regardless of what I do, regardless of what I don't do. And if I decided to stay in this bed for the rest of my life and never do another productive thing, if I decided to eat bonbons and hot wings, I would. That's probably one of my biggest indulgence, hot wings. But if I decided to never do anything ever again but lay in this bed, I would be no less valuable to God. And I don't know that I believed that 40 days ago. Guys, we are so loved. And if you are still trying to please God, if you're still trying to obey, if you're still trying to get it right, if you're still trying to know the will of God to get it right, there's so much more love to be exposed in your heart. And I will continue to do Bible studies, and I will continue to share them with you. But not for your sake, for mine. Because I want to continue to unfold this feeling of being loved more and more every day. You are so loved. You are so cherished. And I guess that's all for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being on this journey with me. I don't know when I'll be out of bed tomorrow. Maybe I do it from the bed again. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't really care. That's what's so, I really don't care. Because for the first time, I wouldn't say the first time in my life, it's just this ever unfolding. Like every other time I thought I knew God, I mean, I did to some degree, right? But this is just a whole new level. I don't even remember where I was going with that. Anyway, you guys, have an awesome rest of your evening. I adore you. So grateful that you watch, that you listen, that you share your energy with me. And you're already in right standings. You are already loved beyond measure. And until you actually feel that, we can say it up here all day long. But until we actually feel it in our body, it doesn't change us. It doesn't change us to cognitively understand that concept. It transforms us when we feel it. All right, guys. See you later.